Let's go on a whistle-stop tour of the dictionary. A what? I hear you say. What does that mean, a whistle-stop tour? And that's precisely the point where most people find they need a dictionary. They want to know what something means. If you're using a print dictionary, you need to know where to look, using alphabetical order to find the first letter of the word you want. You can see the letters on the edge of the pages. We can see from the words at the top of the page which the first and last words on those pages are. Here's the page with the words beginning WHIS. And here's whistle stop. It means visiting a lot of places in a very short time. So if you go on a whistle stop tour, you'll see lots of different things. Sometimes words surprise us. We think we know what a word means, and then we see it used in a surprising way. Learners of English know what a leg is after a few weeks of lessons. But what about this sentence? Keep this ticket for the second leg of your journey. Here, obviously, something different is meant. Let's check the dictionary entry. Well, if we thought that leg was just a part of the body, we're in for a surprise because there are 7 different meanings. But we don't have to read through all of this information to find what we're looking for, because there are words that will help us find the right place quickly. Shortcuts. We know we're not talking about the part of the body, or meat, or anything to do with trousers, or tables. We haven't got the word legged, but we are talking about a journey. So this one, number 6, must be our meaning. A leg of something is one part of a journey or race, so we need the ticket for the next part of our journey. Understanding words in a learner's dictionary is not difficult because they are explained in simple terms. In the Oxford Advanced Learner's Dictionary, the definitions use the 3,000 word families known as the Oxford 3000. If you are familiar with these words, you should have no difficulty understanding the explanations in the dictionary. Say you get sent some complicated-looking documents when you book a journey. They have the heading, Conditions of Conveyance. What on earth does this mean, conveyance? Let's look at the entry. Oh, it's just a formal way of saying the process of taking somebody or something from one place to another. Process is one of those words that are important to know when you are explaining meanings. You will find it a lot in dictionary definitions, along with words like substance, instrument, act, organisation, state, or quality. These are ways in which we categorise things and ideas, so they are very useful to know, not just for understanding definitions, but for explaining words to other people, perhaps when you can't remember the exact word yourself. How can you find a word you don't know in a monolingual dictionary? The best tactic is to start with a related word that you do know. Suppose you want to talk about driving here in your car, and you've forgotten the word that means make a car go faster. Start with a basic word that you do know. Car. Here you can see a word finder box. with various words relating to the car, including one that sounds familiar: accelerate. That was what we were trying to remember. Yes, if we check the entry, we can see that's right. You can see in the word finder note that some words are in bold. That means there's another note at that entry, either another word finder note or a collocations note with lots more words. So if I can't find what I was searching for here, I can look there. Here we can see there are more notes. There's a whole topic collocations note where I'll be able to find lots of related vocabulary. People today travel much more than in the past. If I'm talking or writing about this, in my next sentence, I want to say something about how it was in the past, and to say how surprising the changes have been. The word I want here is the past participle of foresee. But what is it? That's something that the dictionary can tell us. It is irregular, but we can see the past tense and the past participle given at the top of the entry. The past participle is foreseen. And of course, the dictionary gives information about nouns with irregular plurals and adjectives with irregular comparatives and superlatives. When we look up one word in the dictionary, we can often learn more useful related vocabulary. When you look at the entry for foresee, you find a synonym: predict. That means you can vary your vocabulary when you are speaking or writing English and make your language less repetitive and more interesting. Notice that at the end of this entry, you are also given a hint about another word that is related: unforeseen. This is an adjective from the same word family, so it's a good idea to learn it at the same time as the verb. Let's check out the entry. Here's the definition: that you did not expect to happen. And there's another synonym: unexpected. So it's easy to build your vocabulary by following up all the hints about related words. If you're preparing to talk or write about a particular topic, a good place to start is with the collocations boxes. For example, this one at the entry for travel. These boxes deal with a variety of topics and show you the words that go together when you're talking about your chosen subject. Plans for travel sometimes have to be changed. If you have made a reservation or booked a trip and then you can't go, what do you need to do? You can see the verbs here that go with nouns like reservation and booking and trip or holiday. Cancel is the correct word here. A good way to build vocabulary is by using pictures. Illustrations in the dictionary not only help us to learn groups of words for similar things or parts of things, but can also help us to get a clear idea of what something is. Something that was introduced to try and help us get through the queues at passport control relied on iris recognition. But which part of the eye is the iris exactly? Let's look at a picture. We can see the pupil in the middle, and the iris is the coloured part around it. We tend to use a dictionary to look up words we don't know the meanings of. But it can be very helpful to look up a word you do know to find other information about how to use it in a sentence, and to see how it is typically used in context. You can also see the words that are often used with it. For example, the adjectives that collocate with a noun. If you want to describe a flight you've been on where there was a lot of turbulence, what's the right adjective to use? Let's look at the entry for flight. If we look at the examples that come after the definition of the word, we can see some important adjectives, highlighted in bold type. And the first example shows us ways of describing how comfortable it was. So a flight could be smooth. No. Comfortable? No. Or bumpy? Yes, that's the word we were looking for. In English, there are often several words with similar meanings. Suppose you've been asked to go to a conference for work. What's the correct way to talk about this? There are lots of words to do with travel. Trip, journey, tour, excursion. Can we find help in the dictionary to choose the right one? Let's look at the synonyms note at trip and see what the differences are. We can see that trip usually means travelling from one place to another, and usually back again. And the example, a business trip, shows us that this is a common expression. A journey refers to travelling from one place to another, especially when they are a long way apart. So we can say, I'm going on a business trip to the US, and the journey will take me 10 hours. Imagine you have been asked to attend a conference in the Bahamas. You will be meeting members of this organisation. If you're not sure how this is pronounced, how can you find out? In the back of the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, there's a list of names of countries. The Bahamas is in the list here. And next to it, the adjective with the transcription to show us how it's pronounced. We can see that the second vowel sound is different in the adjective from the noun. You can find out how to pronounce any of the headwords in the dictionary using the phonetic transcriptions, or by listening to the digital versions. So the adjective is pronounced Bahamian. What we usually look for in dictionaries are whole words, but some of the things we might not understand are not whole words, but abbreviations. Suppose you've received an email like this. So you've arranged to go to a conference in the Bahamas, but there are some things you need to discuss. The email you get back suggests that you talk on the phone at 10:15 EDT. But what do they mean? To find an abbreviation in the dictionary, you treat it like any other word. So we will find EDT in its correct place in alphabetical order. And so we can see that this is an abbreviation for the time zone that they're in the Bahamas, Eastern Daylight Time. And we can find out details of exactly what that is in the entry. If you are travelling to the United States, you will come across some different vocabulary from the words used in British English. If you're told before you travel you're only allowed one carry-on, what does it mean? Let's check the entry. If a British speaker were using the word carry-on, they would mean something like a fuss. But that's not what's meant here. We can see in the second meaning, which is marked North American English, that it refers to a small bag or case that you can take on the plane with you. So the dictionary will explain when there's a difference in meaning, usage, spelling, or pronunciation between British and American English. When you travel, do you like to take as little luggage with you as possible? There's an expression for that in English. But what is it? Let's check in the dictionary. At the end of all the different meanings for the verb to travel, there's an idiom, clearly marked with this symbol. And we can see that to travel with very little luggage is to travel light. The dictionary is not just about meaning and spelling. It tells us a lot about the grammar of the language too. For example, I can check whether it is correct to say, "How many baggages can I take?" Let's look at the entry for baggage. At the top of the entry, we can see a U in square brackets. This tells us that the noun is uncountable. That means we can't use it in the plural, and we can't use it with a. So baggages is not correct, and we couldn't say a baggage either. We could say how much baggage, and we can talk about pieces of baggage. There are some more examples of this in the note about baggage and luggage, which behaves the same way. It is always worth looking up words in the dictionary even when we know them, because there is information in the entries that helps us to use the words correctly. There's lots of grammatical information there. For example, the correct pattern for using a verb. If we're talking about a journey, we might want to use the verb leave. But what are the constructions we can use? Is it correct to say, "When are you leaving?" like that, without an object? Let's look at what the dictionary can tell us. The code at the beginning of this meaning, IT, tells us the verb can be used intransitively, without an object, or transitively, with an object. So it's okay to use leave on its own, without an object. The example, "Come on, it's time we left," shows this too. And so our sentence, "When are you leaving?" is fine. If we are talking about our destination, what's the preposition we need? Was it right to say, "We leave for Thailand tomorrow"? Let's look at the next part of the entry. We can see the construction, leave for, and there's an example. The plane leaves for Dallas at 12:35. So our sentence, "We leave for Thailand tomorrow," is also fine. And if we've got an object, as in "we leave Sydney," is that okay too? Yes, we can see the construction, leave something. And we have two examples, "I hate leaving home," and "the plane leaves Heathrow at 12:35. So the dictionary has confirmed that our third sentence is also correct. If we're talking about journeys, we might want several ways of talking about leaving. One common expression for this is a phrasal verb. But which is it? Because phrasal verbs can be hard to remember, it's useful to be able to check them in the dictionary. In the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, they have their own section after the main meanings of a word. Leave has 13 different meanings. Then a section with some idioms using leave with this symbol. And after that, with this symbol, the phrasal verbs with leave. Leave off exists, but it means to stop doing something, so that isn't what we want. Let's look at set. That's another word with many, many meanings, but we can go straight to the phrasal verb section and find set off. Here we've found our meaning: to begin a journey. Communicating involves more than just knowing the basic words. How you express yourself can make a real difference. When you travel to a new place, there will be lots of things that you don't know. You will need to ask people to help you and to ask them for information. It's important to know how to ask in a polite and friendly way so that people are happy to help you. In the dictionary, special express yourself boxes give you models for situations just like this. So if you're lost and need to find the station, how can you express your question more naturally and more politely? We can begin our question with, "Could you tell me?" Or we can put a polite phrase like, "I wonder whether you can help me," before our question. And if you're writing, language banks will also give you useful vocabulary for essays and reports, all in the context of sentences. Words convey meanings, but they also convey feelings and attitudes. The words people choose can tell what they really think about what they're talking about. So if you're planning a holiday somewhere and you read about various places on English-speaking websites or in an English guidebook, you need to know exactly what the writers are trying to tell you. If you read that a place is unspoiled or unpretentious, is that a good thing? Let's check the dictionary entries. Before we get to the definitions, we are given a hint about how these words are used. These words are used in an approving way, so not trying to appear more special than you really are is something that has a positive feeling about it in English. If we look at the second quote, we can see that the resort is touristy. Well, a holiday resort has to have all the facilities that tourists need. So can it be a good thing to be touristy? Let's look. Again, before we read the definition of the meaning, we are warned that this word is used in a disapproving way. And the same is true for the words gaudy and brash. When you're travelling, particularly in the United States, you might stay at a motel. Of course, we all recognise this word as a blend of the words motor and hotel. If you're interested in this phenomenon, a symbol in the dictionary entry tells you that you can find more words like this in the study pages. If we go to the More Like This page, we can see a whole group of words that are similarly made up from two existing words to make a new meaning. Brunch, smog, guesstimate, alcopop, sitcom, podcast. In fact, this is one of the most common ways that new words are created, so you'll probably be able to add some more of your own. So when you learn one word, you can find out if there are others that behave like it. The groups of words on the More Like This page might be similar in their grammar, or their pronunciation, or in the way they are made up. You can download an activity from the digital version of the dictionary if you want to explore a bit more. They can be useful to learn as a group, or it can just be fun to find out more from your dictionary.